Hello and welcome to today's Data Dynamics Platform 3x3 series. I'm your host, Kyle Johnson, Director of Digital Experience here at Data Dynamics, and joining me today is our Chief Strategy Officer, Cuong to discuss cloud computing challenges and opportunities in the energy industry. Cuong, thank you for joining me today.
Kyle, pleasure to be here.
Well, let's get started. Our first question up for today. Energy companies generate huge amounts of data. Every part of the energy grid, oil pipelines, even solar farms are all interconnected with thousands of sensors. With petabytes of data being generated daily, how can energy companies make sense of all of this data and use it to their benefit?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Kyle. In this era of sensors with Internet of Things, where you're looking at a change in the energy market, where you have smart consumer devices that are measuring the amount of energy that's being used. You have the meters, at homes and businesses that are measuring the amount of energy that's being used, all the way to the production of energy through pipelines and everything else. There's quite a bit that it takes in order to be able to get us the energy that we need. And so in order for companies to be able to maximize their profitability, efficiency, and all of that is they need to be able to understand what all the data is. Everything on the demand side, what is the need for the energy and how that's being used and customers' patterns, to being able to drive billing based in terms of when customers are using that type of energy and providing incentives for that, all the way to the production of energy and also the delivery of the natural resources, solar energy, wind, and managing all of those different assets all together. So it's a very delicate balance. You need to bring all of these data sources together in order to be able to optimize the energy output. It's very inefficient if you create the energy and there's no one there using it. But then also at the same time, you can't have a situation where there's so much draw on energy and you're not producing enough. And so you need to be able to balance that continuously. And that's what energy companies need to do. And that's a significant challenge. And they have to be able to sort through all of that data in order to be able to do that.
Yeah, it sounds like smarter data management means smarter data production and happier customers. Everybody wins. Cuong, in your opinion, are there any challenges that an energy company would face when it comes to managing their data for their data-driven decision making? And what's the fastest way for them to mitigate these challenges?
Yeah, that's a real good question, Kyle. I mean, as we were mentioning earlier, one of the big challenges is the volume of data from a variety of sources. And from a variety of sources that a lot of energy companies do not have access to today, even. And so a couple real big challenges that prevents companies from being able to maximize the potential with that data is there's a lack of infrastructure and tools. The type of capabilities that happen today are there's collections of data in a number of different places, but there isn't a real way to be able to share it, understand it, or know it. The other is to really understand what data is important and critical versus what is noise, and being able to analyze that and decipher that and be able to work through that is going to be real critical. And data in general is very siloed. So if you think about data silos, like imagine like your phone, all the energy that it uses, or your computers, or your air conditioning units, all of those types of things. It's actually creating a profile of your energy usage. But how is that shared? And how is that shared with different organizations in the entire energy ecosystem? It's not. So there's all these different silos that happen. But even within a company and a firm, you can imagine the type of data that's being collected at various different substations, or power plants, or energy producers, production farms, and so forth. All of these types of things is not all coming together. And so being able to work through that type of silo is going to be important. When you look at all these, the cloud is a great way to address this. And the reason for that is now that gives you a capability of being able to have a repository where you can share data between companies, share data within a company, and then be able to grow as you be able to need in terms of capacity requirements. And then as you grow and collect more data, now you have a set of resources that's available to you to be able to drive additional analytics and drive additional data analysis.
Absolutely. And cloud computing, we're seeing across the board in multiple industries, is becoming that go-to solution to solve some of these big data challenges. And it sounds like it's no different for energy. If any of our viewers out there in the energy industry are a little hesitant still about the cloud computing solution for their data management problems, do you have an example of how data dynamics has assisted an energy company with migrating their data into the cloud and maximizing that analytics use and seeing that return on the value of their data?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we see this quite a bit. And one of the real key challenges with data in general is that everyone says data is the new oil, and that data is really critical for companies. The reality is that there's a lot of noise and there's a lot of data that's not so critical. And so one of the real challenges is being able to identify what is the real critical data from the data that's not quite as critical, and actually data that could represent a challenge or an issue. And so an energy company may have quite a bit of data that's real core to their business, but within that might be intermixed by accident data that is backed up from people's personal laptops or systems, or data that might not be relevant within that context. And so being able to sort that out and then determine if you have multiple copies of that data, or if you have situations where that data is obsolete, what are the types of things that you can take with it. So now first it's kind of pruning through and going through that. Now, once you have an understanding of what that is, it's then creating that rich repository of that data. And so, for example, if it's seismic data, from a certain portion of the ocean, you can go ahead and you can gather that, and you can enhance and enrich that data by adding geo tags to it to explain like where you got that data from. So if you ever need to go pull that data back from the library, you can go and do that. And then you can also do that for, let's say, all of the different types of IoT devices within different regions or anything along those lines. So being able to add context to the actual data is going to be real important. So then whenever you want to do an analysis of whether it's a region, whether it's consumer behavior, whether it's the grid behavior, or whether it's being able to do upstream activity, let's say in oil and gas, or being able to look at weather patterns and how that's impacting your solar and your wind, all of those types of things you want to be able to capture, but also be able to enrich that data, so that you have it. And then data that's not so critical, make sure that you don't have that. So now once you've identified what's really critical, now you take that and you put that set and you put that up onto the cloud. Now this gives you an ability to be able to share. And then based on the types of data and agreements that you have, you can now do data sharing within your enterprise, but also between other companies where they could be providing information, whether they are on the downstream side of energy or whether in midstream or upstream side of energy, and be able to maximize all that type of data sharing in a very secure way.
Excellent. Sounds like there's a ton of opportunity there for an energy company to take advantage of the cloud and take advantage of data dynamics to be able to bring that focus and bring that knowledge of their data to the forefront so that they can really maximize the use and the value out of it. All right. Thank you so much for your time today, Cuong. Really appreciate it. And thank all of you for watching.